Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick too. I desperately need a haircut. Today I'm going to be showing you guys all of the new items that came out in the DLC. There's not a ton of them, but I figured I would just quickly make a video to show you guys everything and also give you guys my initial thoughts on them. I want to give a big thanks to Rainy Drainy from my Discord for helping me get a lot of these items, as well as a few other people just trading me individual items so that I could get this video out for you guys as fast as humanly possible. There's a decent amount of things, but honestly I'm a little bit disappointed. Let me know your guys' comments down below in terms of the DLC, how you guys feel about it, and how you guys feel about all these items that I'm going to show you. But without further ado, let's just get right into it. YouTube usually hates shorter videos, so if you like the video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe. I'm going to be making a whole bunch of updated build videos since a whole bunch has changed with the DLC. Regardless, let's just get into it. So first off, let's talk about weapons, and then I'll go into everything. There's not a ton of items, but we'll just go into anything in no particular order. So first off, we have the new shotgun, the Divergent. This is going to roll in, I'm pretty sure, any element. I have one in Dark Magic, but I've also seen one in Lightning, so I imagine it can roll in all elements. And this is pretty standard. It's just a little T-Door shotgun that's going to shoot a whole bunch of pretty much in like a lucky dice pattern, and then whenever you reload it, it's going to throw out a massive lucky die. Overall, the damage of this is kind of lackluster. The dice roll itself, like many other TDR weapons, is going to do more damage than the actual shot itself. Overall, I don't really have all that much to say about it. It's kind of fun to use, but being a TDR shotgun, it's going to absolutely tear through ammo, and the lucky die itself isn't going to do insane damage. If it did a little bit more damage, I'd probably actually consider using it, but it just is a little clunky to use, and overall the damage is not great. Similar to that is the Twisted Delusion. This is a Stoker rocket launcher. The damage here isn't actually all that bad. You can see mine is, not chaotic or anything. These are not going to have any element, however, it is going to have the soaked text, which is a pretty important part of the new gearing, which we'll talk about when it comes to the class mod and spells. But soaked enemies take more damage from lightning and frost, but less damage from fire. This thing also has a 1 underbarrel lightning twister rocket. I didn't even try that, but I'm just now reading that. So if I change the shoot mode, have a little, well, that's actually pretty cool. The damage on that is probably pretty bad, but I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell. You only get to shoot one of those apparently. Overall, the damage is not particularly great on this, however, it's not super bad. I don't know how good it is relative to the other rockets because I haven't really used them. It's kind of fun being able to shoot it really fast, but then of course ammo is going to be a massive problem here. Overall, something to try if you guys are interested in more rockets. I believe you can get it in multiple projectile versions or in a normal just one shot without multiple projectiles. Not really sure what's better there, probably doesn't matter all that much. As far as I'm aware, that's going to be it for all the new weapons in the game, which is a little bit disappointing. Honestly, I was looking forward to a new assault rifle. I really wanted to get a new AR that's like really powerful. Unfortunately, it does not seem that we got that, but we did get a good amount of other items. So we got 2 new rings, a lethal catch. On killing an enemy, the ring's effectiveness is increased by 25%, so that'll be active pretty often. And then if the enemy was a land shark or a crab, it is increased by 100% instead. So this is mainly for farming whatever the new activity is called. I don't even know the name of it because there's going to be a lot of land sharks in there. But there'll also be land sharks and, crabs just like these guys in normal Chaos Chamber runs. So this isn't all that bad, although I would still rather just use a mood ring. And of course the name here is Lethal Catch. For the other ring, we have Shark's Bane. On critical hit, the ring's effectiveness is increased by 25% and deal extra damage to land shark enemies. So again, this is mainly for farming out the new activity so that you can do more damage against the boss. I believe this 57% number changes. I think that I've seen a higher one. I could be completely making that up though. Overall, 57% increased flat damage against, a boss is going to be pretty good if you're intentionally trying to farm that out. But for normal content, I probably won't use this. Alright, so the next item is the shield. This is not particularly crazy. It just has a decent amount of capacity, pretty quick recharge delay, which I guess is alright for survivability. Normal stuff down here. The special effect here is that on ward break, become untargetable and create a shadow dummy nearby that taunts enemies for 5 seconds. And then whenever the shadow dummy dies after that 5 seconds, it's going to explode and deal a little bit of damage. As you can see here, the dummy kind of just sits there and dances. I don't know if this is all that good of a shield. It kind of seems like a meme. I guess if you made a build where you had your ward up all the time and then whenever you drop down it taunted the enemies and then that helped your survivability a little bit, that would be okay. Overall, I don't think that it's worth losing damage for. Kind of just seems like a meme item. It's funny to see the little dummy dance, I guess, but overall I don't think it's going to be all that useful. The taunting could have some niche benefits, but I guess if you want some more survivability and you don't want to be targeted all that often, you could probably do a setup with this where you have the shadow dummy active a good amount of the time. In terms of the next thing, so we actually have a new necklace here. The slip instance is going to be a slide speed necklace, which is pretty interesting. I've actually literally never slid with it, so I'm just going to show you guys what that looks like. Alright, so we're sliding a little bit fast, and then as you can see, we have this little lightning trail behind us. I imagine if I had more movement speed and I didn't have a rocket equipped, we'd probably be going a little bit faster. So yeah, without a rocket equipped, we can go a little bit faster. Overall, nothing too interesting. It seems to always roll lightning damage, so you can't get like any other type of trail. It's always going to be a lightning trail. And then after sliding, the next melee attack is going to deal additional bonus lightning damage. This could be particularly interesting for a Clawbringer, because by default you always want a lightning damage thing for Clawbringer. And then you could just be sliding around and always throwing your hammer, because the hammer is going to count as a melee attack. So that could be particularly interesting. Otherwise, this is kind of just for fun. I imagine it could roll like most other amulets in the game. All right, next up we have 3 new spells. The first one is Dynamo. Nothing too special about this one, just going to be a little dynamite stick that I guess is kind of cool. It's going to do 2 instances of damage, so the very first instance of damage is going to be right when you throw it out, and then it's going to spawn into a few more dynamite projectiles. It's going to do okay damage. It's not super good, but it isn't necessarily bad either. Pretty good if you're wanting to spam out spell charges, but honestly, it's kind of just another meme item. It's not particularly great. I wouldn't really use it ever, but feel free to if you want. That is another option that exists in the game. The next one is the Rain Bolt. So this thing is not going to do particularly good damage. Mine is in Cryo. I believe it only rolls in Cryo, but I could be completely wrong on that. So this thing is not going to do very much damage. However, it has the very interesting effect where on hit, it's going to apply a random status effect to the target. As you can see, mine is going to have 2 spell charges here. You could potentially get one with up to 3 spell charges and then fairly low cooldown, and then you could be applying multiple random status effects to targets. And that could be very, very good if you pair it with something like Stabomancer, and then you're playing with Exploit Their Weakness, where the enemy is going to take increased damage per status effect, or you're stacking up your status effect damage, etc., and you don't want to, spec into Alchemical Agent or whatever. Using Rain Bolt to then proc those status effects could be fairly good. Overall, though, the damage isn't really great, and I don't really like the spells where you have to like hold, but I guess it's kind of cool that it it looks nice when you throw it out and it does the little rainbow, and I guess it's interesting to have a different way to apply status effects, but nothing too crazy there. And last but not least, we have the Tidebreaker. This is always going to roll in Cryo. Mine has 2 spell charges. I wonder if you could get up to 3, that would be pretty good. Overall low crit chance, pretty low cooldown. We'll talk about the Soaked effect in a second here. This is the only legendary spell in the game right now that I am aware of anyway that is a Sunder spell. The build or the gameplay that you're seeing on screen is just me using some random build that isn't going to be revolving around spells, so my spells aren't going to do all that much damage. But this is a Sunder spell. Really happy that this exists in the game. What's particularly interesting about this is that we have this new mechanic, like I mentioned earlier, Soaked. This is going to guarantee apply Soak to any target. So as you can see, fires a wave that knocks back targets and is going to apply Soak to the targets for duration. Soaked enemies take 150% damage from lightning and frost, but then less damage from fire. So this is interesting because it's another buff to frost and then further invalidates using fire. 150% extra damage is particularly interesting because in theory you could just apply Soaked to any enemy with the Tidebreaker here, and then you could just use your liquid cooling or whatever other frost weapon that you're using and do 150% increased damage, which would be insanely strong. Would this be better than a Buffmeister? If it was actually 150% damage, it would. I've tested this. I tested it against a target dummy, and one time it worked, and another time it didn't. The time that it did work, I was doing 20% additional damage with my weapon. I wish that I had that recorded, but I didn't. But then I went and tested this class item, which also has a pretty similar effect. So the class item which is probably the most interesting thing here, is critical hits have a 25% chance to create a water nova that applies Soaked to the targets for a duration. It's going to then increase the duration of all Soaked effects by 50%, and of course we're still going to have the text Soaked enemies take 150% increased damage from lightning and frost. You should not have to wear this class item for the Soaked effect to work, however I'm not entirely sure. But one thing that's interesting is that, so I went and fought Parasite with this on and with this off. And as you can see, it's not going to increase my damage at all. It just has Clawbringer and Stab power, nothing revolving around guns or anything. So my gun build shouldn't do any more damage using this or without this. Assuming that, Soak doesn't do anything. So when I used it without the class item, I was doing about 10,000 maximum per hit of my liquid cooling, and then using this with the class item, I was doing about 15k, which that would be a 50% damage increase rather than 150% damage. I don't want to sit here and test this all day because I want to get this video out for you guys, so I imagine people that are smarter than me are going to test this and figure out how much damage it actually is. If this was actually 150% damage, this would be the best class item in the entire game. If you plan on using anything that's going to be using lightning and frost, and then you could just run around with the Tidebreaker, or this is going to make my Flak 2.0 build even better. If you're using From the Shadows, you're going to pretty much immediately apply this critical hits have a 25% chance to create the Water Nova. You're just going to be Water Novaing over and over and over again to then always have the 150% damage up, which 150% damage flat is going to be way better than 50% crit damage via Smart Armor or 50% increased damage while standing still. I don't know if it's actually 150%. Like I said, for my testing, I got 20% on the target dummy, and then I got 50% against the boss, but those are highly anecdotal and not the best of testing, so I imagine smarter people will figure that out. And once those people figure it out, I'll let you guys know in the comments. So overall, that's going to be all the items. Somebody did link this melee weapon. I have no idea if this is actually new or not. I don't really look at all the melee weapons, but Storm Surge, Under the Sea, Merman Fest, Feast on Starfish Soup. And the only thing interesting is Storm Surge, melee attacks apply a lightning status effect. Affected enemies have a 25% chance to be struck by a lightning bolt. I didn't really go over this because I have no idea if that's actually new or not. Even if it is, that's not really all that interesting unless the lightning bolt was to do a lot of damage, but I don't have the item. If you guys have found anything else that I didn't cover, please feel free to leave it down in the comments. I'm really sorry if there's anything that I didn't go over, but I've been farming the boss and I've had other people in my Discord farming the boss, and this is everything that we could find. Again, let me know in the comments your guys' thoughts on the DLC, what sort of builds you guys would like to see from me in the near future, and yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.